Hi, my name's Missy Ordaway, and I'm the owner and operator of Hoover Pressure Cleaning. We've been in business since 1996, and we're locally owned and operated.
Hello, I'm Nathan. I'm with Sonshine Roofing. I'm the owner. Been in business since 1987, and we're here with Missy and Hoover Pressure Cleaning to talk to you a little bit about roof maintenance and cleaning.
And hurricane preparedness, because it's that
oh boy,
time.
the dreaded H word, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things that we want to get across to locals and people is making sure that we're using local businesses, but what's the reasoning why, right?
Sure.
So why do you, as a roofer who's been in business since 1987, why do you feel like it's imperative for people to have their roofs checked prior to hurricane season?
That's a really great question. Not only does it bring you peace of mind and knowing that your roof is in tip-top shape, most of the time when we go up and look at somebody's roof, we don't find anything wrong. And that's ideally what you want to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like, you take your car in the mechanic, they do regular oil changes to come out and say, yeah, you're in tip-top shape, you're good to go. Same thing with your roof. But it also gives you a rundown of, in case there was something wrong, we can address it before it becomes a major issue. Yeah. Maintain your roof, maintain your home, give you peace of mind there. The other thing it does is it gives you documentation prior to a major event. If there, God forbid, there was one, we have documentation to show that these things were there or it wasn't there. There's no pre-existing conditions. That can also help out with the insurance claim process.
Absolutely.
If you do that. Another key benefit to not just the insurance side of things in hurricane is that it for bringing a company in like yourself, that you're walking into having something that's documented and well taken care of, and that way I don't want to say get blamed for something, but it can happen, right? But you also know that this was there or wasn't there, and you have something to fall back on because. Yeah. Hey, we're all human. We all make mistakes, right?
Yeah. Well, our guys take pictures before and after of every job,
That's
to make
very
sure.
important to do that. Yeah. It's just so you can provide the best customer service to your clients that are out there. So, having that roof checked out ahead of time is really important for a variety of reasons. I always say the cheapest roof you have is the one that you have on there. Yeah. Don't neglect it, maintain it.
Yeah, for sure. And I know part of that maintenance process is, having your gutters maintained and things like that. So how often do you recommend and why do you recommend having gutters cleaned out?
Gutters, well, if it's in the fall season when the leaves are it's every week almost practically. Yeah.
And you have lots of trees, right?
Lots of trees. If that's the case, then you want to call our friends over at All About Aluminum to take care of the gutter screening after you get the gutters cleaned by you guys. But keep the tree debris out of there, keep it off your roof. That also inhibits the ability for moss and mold and mildew to build up when you have your roof and your gutters cleaned out. You don't want water back up into your eaves of your house. I've seen that countless times where it just rots away the bottom edge of your roof. And those are the toughest ones that homeowners miss as well because they're on the exterior of the home. Yeah. So you'll never see that happen prior to major issues because it's not like you're inside the house and you look up and you see a brown spot. Right. These are on the exterior. You'll never see it. So having a company like you come in to do those regular cleaning, I would say as often as you can. Especially in the fall, you want it cleaned out. Dare I even say monthly on some cases like that.
Well, if you have a lot of oaks and stuff like that, they're always dropping pine needles. Obviously, I mean they're not as much. Yes. They're not as much of the bulk that's in the gutters, but if you have a lot of them, then they can be, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I also, you're making a great point because when it's raining, I'm on the inside of the house. I'm not on the outside of the house, so I can't even see where the gutter's not working.
That's right.
And we've gone, especially people who live on golf courses, they have golf balls in their gutters that fall down and clog the downspouts. Yep. Tennis balls. We've seen a lot
of frisbees, Nerf footballs.
Even other people who go up on the roofs or workers that are, maybe they're working on a chimney or something of that nature. They leave bottles of waters mistakenly, of course, and we've found things in the gutters that are clogging the gutters and obstructing the flow of water to come away from the house that like they're meant to do.
Yeah, that's important to make sure you maintain those. It's an area that just gets overlooked very, very frequently.
For sure. So, let's talk about your tip-top roof check. What are the things that you guys offer when you're up there? What are you looking for?
We look for, ultimately we want to come down and give you a clean bill of health and know that roof is in tip-top shape. some of the things that we look for would be, we basically kind of break it down into 3 sections, where we do an interior of the home. When possible, we take a look at all the ceilings around the property, inside the house. And then the big one, whenever we can do, is the attic inspection. Some attics we can get into, most attics we can get into. Sometimes there's areas we can't get to, but that gives you an idea. It's kind of like an x-ray, or I would even say maybe even more of a CAT scan, because it really gets in depth on what's going on inside the house. We can check those areas along the overhangs into the soffit areas and see if there's any wood damage or moisture intrusion in those areas. And then we do the exterior of the home. We walk around the exterior of the home, take a look at the fascias and soffits and gutters, make sure those are working. And then we do it on the roof inspection. Look for flashing damages, clogged, downspouts, clogged valleys, deteriorated materials, moss and mold and mildew. We check for proper ventilation, exposed fasteners and deteriorated caulking, stucco cracks. That's a big area where water comes in as well. And then when you're up there cleaning, you're just doing what you need to do with the roof, but then water may get onto a wall. Well, if there's a crack in the wall, guess where that's going?
Right.
Straight into the roof. Who gets blamed for that?
Yeah, we do, unfortunately.
But you're not there to, it's not like you made the problem, you just exposed that problem that was already there.
Right.
But having that documented ahead of time for you guys is really key.
Well, again, that's why, we work well with you, and we also have our guys who are well trained on how to walk on tile roofs, and, we have them walk around. And one of the big concern is, when we're up there, even though we understand this, homeowners don't always understand this, that if there's a sliding tile on their roof, that the tile is aesthetic only, and it doesn't, it only is only for looks. It's not for protecting the roof. The underlayment does that. And if I have a sliding tile and I put any, amount of pressure on it, then I could at that point, have a problem. So this is when we call you guys in, have you make the repairs, and then we'll come back out and clean the roof. Yeah,
that's a good point. The tiles, when you do a pressure cleaning job, you want those things in place prior to the pressure cleaning, because you want to protect as much as you can the underlayment. You don't want to put direct pressure on the underlayment.
For sure.
But having the tiles back in place, that's also key for to protect that underlayment. But the waterproofing, that's what you were talking about. The waterproofing is not the tile; they're an aesthetic part of the roof. The main component of waterproofing is the flashings and the underlayment. You're 100% right.
Yeah. So I mean, and we just try to educate our guys so that we know. And we don't like to take chances. Obviously, if we see something that's out of place, we want to make sure that we call in experts, roofing experts, to come in and handle it and take care of it. So we refer you a lot. And
that's one of the things that we partnered up, and we actually brought our guys in to meet your guys to show them some of the vulnerable areas on the roof and what to watch for. So when they are doing those pre-inspections, they are vigilant in making sure that there's nothing there, or they can identify those prior to them becoming an issue or before you do the cleaning, so that we can come in, fix these items, and prevent bigger issues from happening. And that way you can do your job more effectively and efficiently, and just have a better overall customer experience. So that's a big reason we love partnering up with you guys. Yeah.
Well, we do a lot of communities and HOAs as well, and so for us and for them, it's peace of mind, because there's a lot of people who are very nervous about people walking on the roofs, especially if they don't know the correct way to do it. A lot of people, we don't do soft wash. We don't offer that as a service. And the
reason tile roofs, correct?
For tile roofs, correct.
Tiles,
for obviously for shingle, we have a product that we use, but it's not chlorine based. So what we do is we'll have you guys come in and take a look at the roofs and work with us, so we know what kind of condition the roofs are in, and then everybody has peace of mind. We'll clean, and then you guys come in afterwards and make sure that is so we're working together. You guys know what's going on, and if there is anything, then you're here to fix it, and that's how it's, we know what it looked like before and then what it looked like after, and then if there's any issues, then of course we have integrity as a company to take care of that. However, we also know what, like you said, we expose problems, but that doesn't mean necessarily that we caused them.
That's correct. The National Roofing Contractors says that, the association says that if after you put a roof on, if the problem doesn't show up in the first 2 or 3 years with workmanship errors, and let's face it, the majority of problems that cause leaks are workmanship related. They're not product related. It's not the tile manufacturer related. It's about the quality of the craftsmanship. If that problem doesn't show up in the first 2 or 3 rains, it's not going to show up for anywhere between 8 to 10 or 12 years later. Well, you're there in 7, 8 years. Well, that problem's already, after that roof has been put on, it's brand new. It's looking spectacular for the first 6, 7, 8 years. You come in, you clean it, the sludge or gunk or whatever that was blocking the hole, well, that was already there. You just cleaned it off of the roof, but guess what? You exposed the problem.
Well, I mean, and I know that this is true as well. I'm sure you are very familiar with this, but most tiles come with already, you know, some kind of copper sulfate or algae inhibitor on them. And so that usually wears off between the 3 to 5 year period, which is when most people are, you know, coming to us to get their roofs cleaned. We also offer a warranted product, rooficide, that we spray on after we do the clean. And when we clean with that product, it's 100% water. And then we apply the product to help keep the algae and mold from, you know,
and that's on a tile roof too.
That's on a tile roof, and we can do that on shingle roofs as well. And stone-coated metal as well.
Oh yeah, that's great. I did not know that that you did that on the tile. I knew you did it for the shingles, but that's good to know. That's really good.
Well, and shingles are usually 5 to 7 years before you even see any mold or fungus growing.
You know, that's the other thing about the lower pressure cleaning that you do. You're following the manufacturer's recommendations on the proper pressure setting for your machines. So as you don't pit and damage the concrete tile, which is really important because the faster you degrade that surface of the tile, it creates pits and concrete in there. And as you know, those areas grab onto the mold, mildew, dirt, debris, and everything.
That's what they feed on.
And that's great for repeat business.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely.
It really is great for repeat business, but again,
but it's not going to help your roof last.
No, it's not going to help your roof last, and sure, that puts more money in your pocket, but by losing those lower pressure settings, you're going to extend the life of that roof, the surface, the color, the appearance of it. You won't have to get it as cleaned as office. And now with that rooficide, I know the product. It's fantastic. I'm glad to hear you guys are doing that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, what we say to people all the time, and not to, you know, because there are some roofs that actually do need to have a soft wash. The pitch is too much, you know, there's a slurry coat on it. We don't recommend, you know, my safety of my guys is of utmost importance.
Slurry coats are slippery.
Yeah, very. So it's like a sliding board. And so we don't personally do metal roofs, you know, the crimp V but we will do stone-coated metal and cleaning, because we have a product for that called Roof Restore that we use, EPA-approved product. We try very hard to be plant-friendly in our processes. But the high amount of concentration of chemical can cause deeper pores, which is where the mold and fungus, the dirt lands, and then the mold and fungus feeds off of those in there. You know, so that's when, you know, as it becomes more and more porous, those pores are getting bigger and bigger, more room for everything to germinate and grow, you know. And so this is why, you know, some people, they have services that are like, we're on a maintenance program, you know, and they'll have you guys come out like every 6 months, and then they'll just respray bleach. And so it's making it more and more porous. That's not something that we do.
Bleach is so corrosive.
Really, you should only have to clean in the Florida weather. You know, once you start to clean, after that initial 5-year period, you're looking at probably between every 2 to 3 years. On a white roof, usually yearly.
Yeah, that's,
you know,
don't think I got coffee stains on me today, so I did good with my white shirt. I was a little bit risky.
But that's the way it goes, right? We don't wear white in our house.
But the day is still young, so we'll see.
Yeah. So okay, so you talked about when you see problems with the roof, you talk about, you know, the importance of having the gutters cleaned out and why it's imperative to have your roof checked before hurricane season. What happens after hurricane season? You know, what makes, you know, like some people, like, I don't know if you offer something like a priority list, if they're on a roof maintenance program with you, you know, how does that work for you guys?
Yeah, so we have what we call our roof care club, where we come out on a yearly basis and inspect the roof. It's a prepaid, just kind of like an air conditioning service thing type of agreement. We do ask the homeowners to give us a call at that time period to be part of that. There's 3 different levels that they can sign up for different things. I always recommend just get the essentials, especially if you don't have a lot of like debris on the roof or skylights. Let you deal with the debris and the cleaning of the gutters and things like that and the roof. You know, that's not our specialty. Can we do it? Sure.
Yeah.
But it's more inclined for you. What I always recommend is just having that roof checked on a regular basis, yearly. A year is $169, and that's really and we spend that much money, every 3,000, 4,000 miles to change our engine oil, and we're talking once a year here. So, but yeah, that's one of the things that we offer is our roof care club. Just again for peace of mind. And then one of the benefits of having that is that you would get discounts on any future repairs, and you also get priority services.
Nice.
So in event that there was something that did happen, you go to the top of the list, and we're going to take care of you guys first.
Good. Also, no, I'm not mistaken, you guys do have an outlet, but you do not specifically perform roof tarp services.
Correct. Yeah, we will help out in emergency situations. I'm not one of those big companies that will go around and just, that's all we do. But yes, we will provide emergency services when resources allow.
Okay.
That's our big thing is that.
And for safety reasons.
Well, yeah, sure. There's safety reasons. I'm not a big blue tarp person anyways.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've seen, you drive it around in town, I see 3 or 4 of them laying around in people's trees, and that's just a safety problem. They don't perform well, but I will use a synthetic underlayment to nail down over top of exposed areas, and that serves a lot better to the homeowners, and it lasts a lot longer. It's a lot more wind driven, a lot more, you don't have the deterioration like you do in the blue tarps.
Okay.
But when services allow, resources allow for us, and it makes sense, we can do that. Tile roofs are tough to tarp.
With,
yeah, because there's no way to really adhere things on there unless you're using heavy sandbags or concrete.
Right.
Well, even that, it's going to blow around the tarp, and it's just going to, it's a short-term fix. So,
okay.
But yes, when resources allow, we can definitely help out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have questions for me?
That's a good question.
I've been carrying this conversation.
I know, you've been doing great. What are some of the problems, I guess, maybe that you guys see on roofs out there that maybe, I don't know, dare I say, maybe a roofer could do better? I don't know.
Gosh, that a roofer could do better. No,
I know you don't necessarily know my trade.
Yours. Yeah, but I've never witnessed this.
Yeah.
We find a lot of staining on the roofs, from when somebody is going to re-adhere a tile or something like that. Okay. There's foam everywhere.
Okay.
Sometimes painters get on the roofs and they track paint across, and then we get blamed we've gotten blamed for things like that, and we're like, we don't even paint like that. We don't have anything that's color coded like that. Sorry. Yeah. I would say for the most part, it's just things like that. It's like really, it's like pretending your mother is like behind you and going, hey, you need to clean up after yourself. And we have very good success rate with a lot of the roofers in the area. I mean, obviously the best with you guys because we have that working rapport. Like I know that I can call you and ask you questions. I can, see what's going on. I can call your guys out. If any of my clients have a problem, I have no problem referring you, and they always rave about, your services. I would say that, the flashing is always done. The bull, sometimes the bull gets a little
bull
messy.
Can get, well, the
bull's like a tar.
Yeah, it's that black tar that's in the bucket. Yeah. The rule of thumb and the general saying is that as soon as you open up, that stuff just automatically jumps out on you. It literally just jumps out of the bucket, and the next thing you know, you got black tar all over you.
We can't get that off.
Yeah. The best way to get that product out of there is they make a tar remover down at like Ace Hardware's and different places like that. Those things work really great. Yeah.
And so just FYI, we when we're on the roofs, we will take a look, and we are allowed by trade only up to 5 tiles that we can repair. And so because with having a handyman
you're not
license,
replacing the tiles, you're just gluing things back together.
Just gluing things back together if there's a broken one. And we used to use RT600. Now that's no longer available. So you guys have given us the name of a couple
other products there for you,
and so we can use those.
That's a good point. You talk about broken tiles on the roof, because tiles are not waterproof and then designed to be a waterproof product. Right. They're water shedding. It's perfectly acceptable to glue those tiles back together and set them in some sort of adhesive or caulking that will bond that tile together. That is a proper way to repair a roof. Now, if you got a tile that's crumbled into 4 or 5 pieces,
Then
that's where you got to bring the roofer in to bring, because then we're actually pulling out fasteners, resecuring a lot of things. But it's not. I've often been asked by homeowners, is that okay for them to do? Well, yes, it's perfectly acceptable to glue a tile back together.
Right.
That is the standard in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I would say that, like I said, 3 to 5 years after you get your tile roof installed, you can do a roof clean, and then 5 to 7 usually after a shingle roof to get the roof clean. And then usually maintenance is, every few years for those, unless it's a white roof. But, around the rest of the property, it also is very imperative, because then we are showing, like, if there's cracks that are coming up in the stucco on the side of the house, the exterior. So we do recommend doing those things like once a year, at least for maintenance purposes. And then if you're around a lot of trees, getting your gutters cleaned out at least every 6 months. But normal, it would be at least having them cleaned out once a year.
Let's talk a quick minute about shingle roofs.
Yep.
Because I've seen a lot of the weekend warriors.
Yeah.
I don't want to not call anybody out. Believe me, they mean well.
Of course.
They do mean well. It's more about just having the proper education. High pressure is not good on a shingle roof.
Never.
It is a low pressure, spray on, wet down. Always say garden hose, maybe a little bit stronger type spray, and get the shingles cleaned, because any more than that, you're going to take the granules off a roof, which is great for me, right? Because I get to replace. No, it's not. No. Not good for me.
Yeah.
Again, and that's why we love partnering with you, because you understand the system that's required for a shingle roof, which is imperative to the longevity, which I'm always talking about. The longevity. Maintain your roof. Keep it in the best shape it can, because that is the least expensive roof you have. So tell me a little bit more about what you do on a shingle roof, on how you clean that.
Well, Roof Restore is actually made by the same manufacturer that makes the product Rooficide. They're both EPA approved products, not chlorine based, which of course, chlorine causes corrosion on the nails and things like that. So that can also eventually cause leaks. But Roof Restore, is really, like you said, it's a spray on. We let it do its activation and work, and then we mist it off with a pressure of a water hose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a, granules usually fall off slightly as a result of the mold and fungus that we're eating away on it, especially if you're not maintaining it on a regular basis. But for the most part, there's very little granule loss in this process, because it's a gentle wash, I don't want to call it a surfactant, but it's very similar to a surfactant, where, it adheres to the dirt, and then when we rinse it, it pulls the dirt off.
That's very nice. And you mentioned the granular loss. Well, contrary to popular belief, a roof does not get better with age.
No, for sure. No.
So
it's not wine, okay?
No, it's not. So it's going to see granular, and it is normal to see granular loss on a roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, your regular rains are going to knock granulars off. Rain showers we've had, in the last year are probably harder pressure and more sideways pressure than we just washing it off. So the process of what you're doing is very much in compliance with not to void manufacturer's warranty, which is also extremely important. That's a great process that you use.
Well, the good news is also about Rooficide is, the Rooficide is the algae and mold inhibitor, comes with a 2-year warranty. It's backed by us and it's backed by the manufacturer, but it's also been approved by roofing manufacturers for tile and shingle. So they are aware that these products go on, and when you have that warranty, you call me and you say, hey, Missy, it's been a year and a half. There's mold and fungus on my roof. And then, we come out, we treat it free of charge to you, because we get the product from Rooficide, and we warranty our application process. And then, you just keep up that process every 2 years. It's not a lifetime thing. You still have to pay, but 90% of the time it's less expensive to reapply the Rooficide than it is to have your roof cleaned every few years.
Sure, that makes sense, yeah.
So we want to make it affordable for people to be on that kind of product, and at the end result, again, this is misted on with the pressure of a water hose. So as, it adheres and binds to the tiles and the shingles, you're getting less pressure put on your roof even after I would clean, less chlorine because I'm not using any when I do that process for you guys.
And you mentioned also about cleaning metal roofs.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do that as well. You just do it typically
Stone coated only.
Stone coated. You won't do the standing seam and the smooth. I get it. It's a scary thing to walk on.
It's just my guys. Like they're $500 is not a value that I would put on somebody's life.
Well,
you know what I mean?
sure.
And they're the bread and butter of my company. My husband and I, we run the company. We take care of things, and he's out in the field and I'm in the office. But at the same time, if a guy ever calls me and he's on a roof and he's nervous or it doesn't feel safe, then I say get down. Just get down and we'll tell the customer and then we'll refer it out.
Tell me a little bit about the stone-coated steel, what your process is for that, because a lot of times homeowners are timid about walking on that one or having people up
like
there
pop
walking.
cans.
Well, yeah.
So my guys obviously are trained how to walk on the ribs and properly know how to do that. And it's also Roof Restore. We can use our Roof Restore product on that, and we can also use Rooficide on that because the granules give the Rooficide something to bind to. Yeah. And so it keeps them really nice over the years.
Yep. Yeah. And real quick about the tile roofs, back to the tile. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you guys, you use you use the machine up there on the tile roofs, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that question because a lot of people think, well, a wand has pressure, obviously comes out in a single stream, right? And we use fan tips to spread it out or shrink it in. That would amount the pressure So a lot of people think that we're up there scrubbing their tiles. But what happens is when we turn the machine on, it hovers over the tiles. So it never touches it. And it ends up splitting the pressure. Instead of one, now we've got 8 gallons per minute at, up to 1200 PSI. Our machines go up to 3600 PSI. But this 1200 PSI is now split. So it's less pressure and it rotates and it hovers. So it never touches anything. Yeah. And my guys, it's a lot less labor intensive for them. It's a lot less grueling and, it doesn't hurt anything because we're not touching anything. Yeah,
that's a great point. Because I often get asked from homeowners is like, well, they're up there with this big heavy machine and walking all over it. It's like, well, it's a light machine. It's actually quite lightweight. It is very
light, yeah.
And with the pressure, as soon as it gets on, it really lifts it up. Yeah. And keeps a lot of that off of there. And by splitting it apart, you're keeping lower pressure. That is my preferred way to tell a homeowner. So when they say that, it's like, oh, this is great because I get to say, no, that's the right way to do the roof. That's the right way. So they're doing it the right. I'd be more scared if they were up there with with a single tip, 2,500 PSI tip or whatever on your thing and just blasted it off. Now I'm more leery of those people than that machine for sure, especially after spending time with you and training with you guys.
I wrote a blog on my website and our website, hooverpressure.com. I wrote a blog because people ask so many times, like, what is that scrubby thing that you use on my roof? And just to explain, because that's my point. My point is to educate, I like to set expectations. If we get up on a job, my guys look around. They let you know, like, hey, this is going to happen. We know that this is a problem, and this is what we do to resolve it. And just so you're aware, and they're very accommodating, and our customers appreciate that from us. So the girls in the office share that information, the guys reiterate it, and then at the end, that's why they're very happy with our services. So
that's great.
Anyway, I know that we're about out of time. Yeah. Nathan, you're amazing. Your company's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today to do this. And I'm Missy Ordaway with Hoover Pressure Cleaning. You can reach us at www.hooverpressure.com. And Nathan, you want to give your website and phone number?
Thank you for bringing me in and thinking so highly of us to be able to be, here part of this. So, yes, Nathan Sonshine Roofing. It's spelled S-O-N, Shine Roofing, and you can find us on the web at that web address, and 941-377-9933, serving Sarasota, Manatee, and Charlotte County.
Yeah, same here. We do the same.
Yeah, which is very
convenient.
Convenient for both of us. Yes, yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.